My name is Daniel Carter, and for 32 years, I lived like I had all the time in the world. I want to tell you my story. Not because it is special. Not because I am famous. But because what happened to me could happen to you. And if my story can save even one person from making the same mistakes I made, then it is worth telling. This is a story about time. About how we waste it. About how we think we have forever, when really, we have almost nothing at all. Let me start from the beginning. Chapter 1, The Comfortable Trap. When I was 25 years old, I had a plan. Everyone has a plan at 25. Mine was simple: work a normal job for a few years, save some money, and then start my real life. My real dreams. My real goals. I told myself, I will start next year. Next year came. I said the same thing again. I worked at a small office in Chicago, doing data entry for an insurance company. It was not a bad job. It paid the bills. It gave me just enough comfort to feel safe, but not enough excitement to feel alive. Every morning, I woke up at 7 a.m. I drank the same coffee. I took the same train. I sat at the same desk. I went home at 6 p.m., watched television, and went to sleep. The next day, I did it all again. And again. And again. This went on for years. Not because I was happy. Not because it was my dream. But because it was easy. It required no risk. No fear. No failure. You see, comfort is a trap. It does not look like a trap. It looks like safety. It feels warm and familiar, like a soft blanket on a cold night. But the longer you stay in it, the harder it becomes to leave. Your muscles get weak. Your courage gets weak. Your dreams get smaller and smaller until one day, you forget you ever had any. I had dreams once. When I was a teenager, I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to write a book. I wanted to build something with my own hands that would outlast me. I wanted people to remember my name after I was gone. But somewhere between 20 and 30, those dreams went quiet. They did not disappear completely. They just went to sleep, like a fire that nobody feeds anymore. The flame gets smaller. The light gets dimmer. Until one day, you cannot even see it anymore. You forget it was ever burning. I told myself I was being responsible. I told myself this was just real life. I told myself that dreams were for young people, for people without bills to pay, for people who did not understand how the world really worked. I was wrong. But I did not know that yet. Chapter 2, The Friend Who Tried to Warn Me. I had a friend named Marcus. We met in college, and even though our lives went in different directions, we stayed close. Marcus was different from me. He took risks. He quit a stable job to start his own small business, a coffee shop near the university. Everyone thought he was crazy. His own father told him he was making a huge mistake. One evening, Marcus came over to my apartment. We sat on my old couch, drinking cheap beer, talking about life like we always did. "Daniel," he said, "what happened to your dream of traveling? You used to talk about Japan all the time. You wanted to see Mount Fuji. You wanted to walk through Tokyo at night and eat ramen in some small shop with no name." I laughed it off. "I'll get there eventually. I just need to save a bit more money first." Marcus looked at me with serious eyes. I will never forget what he said next. "Daniel, eventually, is a dangerous word. People use it to feel better about doing nothing. They say, eventually, so they don't have to say, never. But time doesn't wait for, eventually. Time keeps moving whether you act or not." I remember feeling a small sting in my chest when he said that. Like a tiny needle poking somewhere deep inside me. But I pushed the feeling away. I changed the subject. I made a joke. We moved on to talking about sports, about old college memories, about nothing important. That night, after Marcus left, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling for a long time. His words kept playing in my head. Time doesn't wait. But the next morning, the alarm rang at 7 a.m. I drank my coffee. I took my train. I sat at my desk. And the feeling faded away, like it always did. Life went back to normal. Comfortable. Quiet. Safe. I did not know it then, but that feeling, that little uncomfortable truth Marcus gave me, was a gift. It was a warning. And I almost let it disappear completely. Chapter 3, The Years That Slipped Away. Years are strange things. When you are living through them day by day, they feel slow. Boring, even. But when you look back at 5 years, 10 years, they feel like they disappeared in a single breath. I turned 26. Then 27. Then 28. Each year, I told myself the same lie. Next year, I will change something. I watched my coworkers get promotions. I watched my old college friends post photos online, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower, hiking in the mountains of Peru, opening their own small businesses, getting married, having children, building lives that looked full and alive. And I sat at my same desk, doing my same job, living my same routine. I am not telling you this to make you feel sad for me. I am telling you this because I know many of you watching this video are living the exact same way right now. Maybe you are in school, B1 or B2 level English learner, dreaming of speaking fluently one day but always pushing the real practice to tomorrow. Maybe you are working a job you do not love, telling yourself you will start your real career next year. Maybe you have a dream, a business, a skill, a relationship, a healthier body, and you keep saying, I'll start Monday. Then Monday comes, and you say, I'll start next month. Then next month becomes next year. Nobody wakes up one day and decides, I will waste my life today. No. People waste their lives one small excuse at a time. One missed opportunity at a time. One comfortable day at a time. And the worst part? You usually don't notice it happening. Time is sneaky like that. It does not announce itself. It does not knock on your door and say, hello, I am leaving now, and I am taking 5 years with me. No. It just quietly slips away while you are busy being comfortable. By the time I turned 30, I had saved some money. Not a lot, but enough. Enough to finally start doing some of the things I always said I wanted to do. But something strange happened. The closer I got to actually having the resources to chase my dreams, the more excuses I found not to chase them. I should wait until I have more savings. I should wait until things are more stable at work. I should wait until I find the right time. There is no right time. I know that now. But back then, I was still trapped inside the lie. Chapter 4, The Phone Call That Changed Everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October. I remember the weather was cold, gray, the kind of sky that makes everything feel heavier. I was at my desk, eating a sandwich, scrolling through my phone during my lunch break, when I saw a missed call from my mother. This was strange. My mother rarely called during the day. She knew I was working. I called her back immediately. My hands were already shaking before she even answered, like some part of me already knew something was wrong. Daniel, she said, her voice breaking. It's about Marcus. My stomach dropped. He was in a car accident this morning. He's in the hospital. It's serious. I do not remember driving to the hospital. I do not remember parking my car. The next clear memory I have is standing in a hospital hallway, the lights too bright, the air smelling like cleaning chemicals, and a doctor walking toward me with a face that told me everything before he even said a word. Marcus did not make it. He was 31 years old. I want you to sit with that for a moment, because I had to sit with it for a long time. 31 years old. A man full of energy, full of dreams, full of plans for his coffee shop, full of ideas about opening a second location, full of stories he wanted to tell his future children one day. Gone. In one single moment. On one ordinary Tuesday morning. I sat in that hospital hallway for almost 2 hours, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to think clearly. My mind kept replaying our last conversation on my couch. Time doesn't wait for, eventually. He was right. He was so right. And I never told him that. I never thanked him for trying to wake me up. I assumed there would be more time. More conversations. More chances to listen to his advice and finally act on it. There wasn't. Chapter 5, Facing the Truth. The funeral was on a rainy Saturday. I stood there in a black suit that suddenly felt too tight, listening to people talk about Marcus's life, his laugh, his energy, the way he made everyone around him believe they could do impossible things. Someone said something that hit me harder than anything else that day. Marcus's younger sister stood up and said, "My brother didn't have a long life. But he had a full one. He didn't waste a single day waiting for the right time. He made his own right time." I drove home that night in silence. I did not turn on the radio. I did not call anyone. I just drove through empty streets, rain hitting my windshield, thinking about my own life. What would people say about me if I died tomorrow? Would they say, Daniel lived fully? Daniel chased his dreams. Daniel made every day count. Or would they say, Daniel was always planning to start? Daniel always said, next year. Daniel never actually lived. I sat in my car outside my apartment building for almost an hour, just thinking. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt something I had been avoiding for years, real, honest fear. Not the fear of failing. Not the fear of embarrassment. But the fear of reaching the end of my life having never truly lived it. That night, I could not sleep. I sat at my kitchen table at 2 a.m. with a notebook in front of me, and I wrote down every dream I had buried over the past 10 years. The trip to Japan. The book I wanted to write. The fitness goals I had given up on. The relationships I had let fade away because I was too busy or too tired. The list was long. Painfully long. And next to each dream, I wrote one simple, honest question: why haven't I done this yet? The answers were almost always the same. Fear, comfort, laziness, the false belief that I had unlimited time. That night was the beginning of everything that came after. It was the night I decided, truly decided, not just thought about deciding, that I would not waste another day of my life pretending I had forever. Chapter 6, The first step is the hardest. People think change happens in one dramatic moment. They imagine waking up one morning completely transformed, suddenly brave, suddenly disciplined, suddenly fearless. That is not how it works. At least, it was not how it worked for me. The morning after Marcus's funeral, I woke up still scared. Still uncertain. Still carrying all the same fears I had carried for years. The only thing that was different was one small decision sitting quietly in my chest: I am not waiting anymore. I did not quit my job that day. I did not book a flight to Japan that morning. Real change is rarely that dramatic. Instead, I did something small. Something almost embarrassingly simple. I opened my laptop and looked up the price of a plane ticket to Tokyo. That's it. That was step one. I did not buy it yet. I was still scared. But for the first time in years, I let myself actually look, to stop pretending the dream did not exist, and instead face it directly. The ticket cost more than I expected. My heart immediately found 10 reasons why I should close the laptop and forget about it. You can't afford this right now. What about your job? What if something goes wrong? What if you hate traveling alone? But then I remembered something simple and powerful. Marcus never got the chance to make these excuses anymore. He ran out of time before he ran out of dreams. I closed my laptop without buying the ticket that day. But I did not close the dream. I told myself, I will save what I need over the next 4 months, and then I will go. No more excuses. No more, eventually. 4 months. A real deadline. Not someday. Not when things settle down. For months, written on my calendar like an appointment I could not cancel. This is something I want every English learner watching this video to understand deeply, because this lesson applies far beyond travel or money. A dream without a deadline is just a wish. A wish floats in your mind, soft and comfortable, asking nothing of you. But a deadline has teeth. A deadline demands action. So I made small changes. I started packing my own lunch instead of buying food every day. I canceled subscriptions I barely used. I picked up freelance writing work in the evenings, something I used to enjoy in college but had completely abandoned. Slowly, painfully slowly, money started building in a separate savings account I labeled simply, Japan. Every time I felt tired, every time I felt like giving up on this one small goal, I looked at that label. Japan. And I thought about Marcus. Chapter 7. Learning to listen to the clock. During this period of my life, I became obsessed with one simple question: how much time do I actually have? I am not talking about some morbid fear of death. I am talking about real, practical math. I sat down one night and calculated something that shook me deeply. If I live to be 80 years old, and that is generous, considering how unpredictable life can be, I had, at that point, already used up 30 years. That left me, at most, 50 years. 50 years sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But let's go further. Out of those 50 years, I would spend about 1/3 of them sleeping. That removes almost 17 years immediately. I would spend a large portion working, simply to survive, paying bills, buying food, maintaining a basic life. Depending on how long I worked, that could take another 15 to 20 years of conscious, awake hours. What was left? A surprisingly small number of truly free years. Years where I could choose, with full energy and clear mind, exactly how I wanted to spend my time. This calculation terrified me. Not because life is short, we all hear that phrase so often that it has almost lost its meaning. It terrified me because I finally understood, with real numbers in front of me, exactly how short, and exactly how much of it I had already poured into comfort, distraction, and fear. I want you, watching this video right now, to do this same calculation in your own life. How old are you? How many years do you realistically have left? Now subtract the time you will spend sleeping. Subtract the time you will spend working just to survive. What is left? That number, that small, precious number, is your real life. The part where you actually choose. The part where you actually live. Most people never calculate this. They live as if their time is endless, as if there will always be another year, another chance, another, eventually. But time is not endless. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource you have. You can lose money and earn it back. You can lose a job and find another one. You can even lose relationships and sometimes repair them. But you cannot get back a single wasted day. Not one. Once it is gone forever. This is not meant to scare you into panic. It is meant to wake you up, gently, but firmly, the same way Marcus tried to wake me up on that old couch in my apartment, years before I was ready to listen. Chapter 8. Small steps toward a bigger life. Over the following months, something inside me began to shift. It was not loud or dramatic. It was quiet, steady, like a plant slowly growing towards sunlight. I started reading again, something I had not done seriously since college. Not random books, but books about people who built meaningful lives, entrepreneurs, explorers, writers, ordinary people who decided one day to stop waiting and start living. One evening, while reading about explorers from the past who set out on dangerous, uncertain journeys with no guarantee of success, I came across a simple sentence that stayed with me for the rest of my life. The biggest risk is not the risk you take. It is the life you never lived because you were too afraid to take it. I wrote that sentence on a small piece of paper and taped it above my desk at work, right where I would see it every single day. My co-workers noticed the change in me before I even fully understood it myself. I smiled more. I asked questions about life beyond the office. I started talking about Japan, about writing, about goals I had buried for years. Some of them were supportive. A few were confused, even slightly uncomfortable, the way people sometimes are when someone close to them starts changing in ways they are not used to. But I did not let their confusion slow me down. For the first time, I understood something important. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that is okay. You are not living for their approval. You are living for your own one, irreplaceable life. Chapter 10: Landing in a New World. The flight to Tokyo took almost 14 hours. I had never sat still for that long in my entire life. Somewhere over the Pacific Ocean, staring out the small airplane window at endless dark water below, I felt something I had not felt in years: pure, uncomfortable, exciting uncertainty. I did not know what would happen when I landed. I did not know if I would feel brave or foolish. I did not know if this trip would change my life or simply become an expensive memory. And for the first time, I let myself sit inside that uncertainty instead of running from it. When the plane finally landed in Tokyo, my legs felt stiff, my eyes felt heavy, but my heart was pounding with something close to joy. I walked through the airport, surrounded by signs I could not read, voices speaking a language I did not understand, and for a moment, I felt completely lost. But it was a good kind of lost. I took a train into the city, watching the world rush past the window, tall buildings covered in bright lights, narrow streets packed with bicycles, small shops glowing like little lanterns in the evening dark. Everything felt alive in a way my life back home had not felt in years. I checked into a small hotel room, no bigger than a closet, the bed taking up almost the entire space. I sat on the edge of that tiny bed, jet-lagged and exhausted, and I laughed out loud, a real, full laugh, the kind I had not let myself feel in a long time. I was here. After years of next year, after years of comfortable excuses, I was actually here. Chapter 11: Walking Through Fear. The next morning, I woke up early, before the sun had fully risen, and I walked outside without any real plan. No map. No schedule. Just my own 2 feet and a city I knew nothing about. I want to be honest with you about something. The first 2 days were not magical. They were uncomfortable. I got lost twice. I accidentally ordered the wrong food at a small restaurant because I could not read the menu, and ended up eating something I did not recognize, sitting alone at a tiny table while local people glanced at me with quiet curiosity. I felt embarrassed. I felt out of place. I even thought, briefly, maybe Marcus's sister was wrong. Maybe some dreams really are better left as dreams. But on the third day, something shifted. I woke up early and took a train toward Mount Fuji, the same mountain I had dreamed about since I was a teenager, staring at photographs and books, never truly believing I would stand in front of it myself. The train ride took a few hours. I sat by the window, watching small towns pass by, rice fields stretching toward the horizon, until finally, in the distance, I saw it. Mount Fuji. I do not have perfect words to describe that moment, even now. The mountain rose into the sky, snow covering its peak, clouds wrapping gently around its sides like a soft scarf. It was bigger than any photograph had ever shown me. More beautiful. More real. I stood there at the viewing area, surrounded by other travelers, tears unexpectedly filling my eyes. I was not crying because the view was simply beautiful. I was crying because I finally understood, deep in my chest, what all those wasted years had actually cost me. I thought about every excuse I had made. Every next year. Every comfortable evening on my couch instead of taking action toward this exact moment. I thought about Marcus, about how he never got to stand somewhere like this, chasing his own version of Mount Fuji. And I made a quiet promise to myself, standing there with the cold mountain wind against my face, I will never again let fear or comfort steal a dream away from me without a fight. Chapter 12. Conversations that changed my thinking. During my second week in Japan, I met a man named Kenji at a small ramen shop in Tokyo. He was in his 60s, sitting alone at the counter, eating slowly, clearly comfortable in his own solitude. We started talking. His English was good, much better than my few Japanese words, and within 20 minutes, we were having one of the most meaningful conversations of my life. Kenji told me he used to work for a large company for almost 30 years. Stable job. Good salary. Predictable life. Then, at 55, he retired and finally started doing the things he had always wanted to do, painting, traveling, learning to cook properly. I do not regret my career, he told me, sipping his tea slowly. But I regret waiting so long to enjoy my life. I always told myself, after I retire, I will really live. But Daniel, life is not divided into two parts, one part for working, one part for living. Life is happening right now, while you are working too. If you wait for the right time to truly live, you may spend your entire life waiting. His words landed deep inside me, similar to how Marcus's words had landed years before, except this time, I was finally ready to listen without pushing the discomfort away. How do you know, I asked him, when it's the right time to chase something important? Kenji smiled, a tired but peaceful smile. There is no perfect right time. There is only the time you decide to stop waiting. The waiting itself is the trap. Most people think they are waiting for the right moment. In truth, they are simply waiting for fear to disappear. But fear never fully disappears. You learn to walk forward with it, not after it leaves. I sat with him for almost 2 hours that evening, long after our bowls of ramen had gone cold. By the time I left that small shop, something inside me had shifted permanently. I no longer saw my old comfortable life back in Chicago as safety. I saw it clearly now for what it truly was, a slow, quiet way of avoiding life altogether. To my surprise, instead of resistance, I found support. Sometimes the obstacles we imagine in our minds are far larger than the obstacles that actually exist in reality. Fear builds walls that often are not even there. Chapter 15. What I learned about wasting time. Looking back now, several years removed from that gray Tuesday when I received the phone call about Marcus, I understand certain truths about wasted time that I want to share directly with you. First, comfort is not the same as happiness. For years, I confused the two. I thought because my life felt easy and predictable, it must also be good. But comfort without growth slowly empties a person from the inside. You can be comfortable and deeply unfulfilled at the same time. True happiness almost always requires some discomfort along the way, the discomfort of trying something new, of risking failure, of stepping beyond what feels safe. Second, eventually is one of the most dangerous words in the English language. It feels harmless. It feels responsible, even. But eventually has no deadline attached to it. It allows you to feel like you are planning for your dreams while doing absolutely nothing real to pursue them. Replace eventually with an actual date, an actual deadline, an actual plan, or recognize that you may simply be talking yourself out of the life you truly want. Third, other people's opinions are not a reliable measure of your decisions. When I quietly told a few coworkers about my plans to travel and eventually shift my career path, some of them reacted with confusion, even subtle judgment. This is normal. People who have made peace with their own comfortable, unchanged lives sometimes feel uncomfortable watching someone else break free from that same pattern. Their reaction is about their own fears, not about the wisdom of your choices. Fourth, time does not ask for permission before it disappears. Marcus did not get a warning before his accident. None of us receive a guaranteed amount of time. This is not meant to create fear or anxiety in your life. It is meant to create urgency, healthy, motivating urgency that pushes you to act today, rather than tomorrow, rather than eventually. Fifth, small, consistent actions build extraordinary lives. I did not transform my entire life in one dramatic moment. I transformed it through small, sometimes unimpressive daily choices, saving a little money here, writing a few hundred words there, having one honest conversation, taking one flight. None of these individual actions looked remarkable on their own. But together, over months and years, they built an entirely different life than the one I had been living before. Chapter 16, A Letter I Never Sent. About a year after Marcus's death, I wrote him a letter. I know he could never read it. But I needed to write it anyway, for my own healing, for my own clarity. In that letter, I told him about Japan. About Mount Fuji. About Kenji and our long conversation in that small ramen shop. I told him about my book, about the conversation with my manager, about all the small, brave steps I had taken since that terrible phone call from my mother. I told him I was sorry it took losing him to finally listen to what he had been trying to tell me for years. And I told him something else, something I believe deeply, something I want every person watching this video to understand and carry with them long after this story ends. You do not need to lose someone you love to learn this lesson. You do not need a tragedy to wake you up. You can choose, right now, in this very moment, to stop waiting for, eventually. You can choose, right now, to start moving toward the life you actually want, instead of the comfortable life you have simply accepted. I folded that letter, sealed it in an envelope, and kept it in a small box in my closet. Sometimes, on difficult days when old fears try to pull me backward, I take it out and read it again. It still moves me to tears every single time. Chapter 17, for you, watching this right now. If you are watching this video, learning English, building new skills, working toward a better future, I want you to understand something important. The fact that you are here, improving yourself, learning, growing, already places you ahead of so many people who simply scroll through life on autopilot, waiting for some imaginary, right time, that never actually arrives. But learning alone is not enough. Knowledge without action changes nothing. You can understand every lesson in this story perfectly, you can master every English word and grammar rule, and still wake up in 20 years having wasted your one, irreplaceable life, if you do not turn understanding into real, consistent action. So I want to ask you something directly, the same honest question I asked myself that night at my kitchen table after Marcus's funeral. What dream have you been postponing? What conversation have you been avoiding? What small, uncomfortable first step have you been delaying, telling yourself you will start, eventually, next year, when things settle down? I am not asking you to quit your job tomorrow morning or book an expensive flight across the world. Real change rarely starts that dramatically. I am asking you to take one small, honest step today, the way I looked up that plane ticket price, even before I was ready to buy it. The way Marcus opened his coffee shop despite everyone telling him he was making a mistake. The way Kenji finally picked up his paintbrush after 30 years of waiting for retirement. One small step. Today. Not tomorrow. Chapter 18, The Life I Live Now. Today, my life looks different from the one I lived before that gray October Tuesday. I am not rich. I am not famous. I have not solved every problem in my life, and I still face fear regularly, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of uncertainty. But I no longer let that fear make my decisions for me. I finished writing my book, and although it did not become some massive bestseller, it exists. It is real. People have read it. Some of them told me it helped them through difficult moments in their own lives. That alone made every uncomfortable hour of writing worth it. I returned to Japan twice more, each trip teaching me something new about patience, beauty, and presence. I built a small habit of traveling somewhere new, even somewhere small and nearby, at least once a year, refusing to let comfort quietly steal away my curiosity about the world again. I visit Marcus's coffee shop, still running today under the care of his sister, every few months. I sit at the same counter, order the same coffee he once recommended to me, and quietly thank him for a lesson I almost learned too late. And every single morning, before checking my phone, before starting my daily routine, I ask myself one simple question. Am I building the life I actually want, or am I simply repeating yesterday because it feels safe? Some days, the honest answer is uncomfortable. Some days, I notice myself slipping back toward old patterns. But noticing is everything. Noticing gives you the chance to choose differently, again and again, day after day, for the rest of your life. Chapter 19, Final Words. Marcus once told me, sitting on my old couch, that eventually is a dangerous word. He was right about that. But I have come to believe there is an even more dangerous phrase, one that quietly destroys far more dreams than eventually ever could. That phrase is, I still have time. It feels true. It feels safe. Most days, it probably even is true. But you never truly know, with complete certainty, how much time you actually have left. None of us do. Marcus did not know, on that ordinary Tuesday morning, that it would be his last. I did not know, sitting comfortably on my couch for years, how close I came to wasting my entire life waiting for a right time that might never have arrived at all. So here is my final message to you, whoever you are, wherever you are watching this from, whatever stage of life you currently find yourself in. Do not wait for a tragedy to wake you up the way I needed one to wake me up. Do not wait for, eventually. Do not wait for comfort to magically transform into courage on its own. Look at your own list of buried dreams, the ones you have quietly pushed aside for months, maybe even years. Choose just one. Take one small, honest, uncomfortable step toward it today, right after this video ends. Because time does not wait. Time does not care how comfortable you feel right now. Time keeps moving forward, whether you act or not, whether you are ready or not, whether you are afraid or not. The only real question left is this. Will you keep waiting for, eventually? Or will you finally start living the life you were always meant to live, starting today, starting now, starting with one small, brave, honest step? Don't waste your life. You only get one. The end.